All right, we're going to start the workshop.
It's going to be challenging.
Thanks everybody being here. We're going to start the citizens forum. As mayor, it's my duty to enforce order. Officer Eubanks and Call are the sergeant of arms and will assist in maintaining order. Those who have signed up to speak will be recognized for 3 minutes. In no event will the citizen forum last longer than 1 hour. Unless you are recognized by me and granted permission to speak, you are not to address this board or otherwise make any verbal noises that will be heard by any member of the board during these proceedings. If you do, I may declare you out of order. If you proceed after being declared out of order, your conduct will be deemed a substantial interference with these proceedings. Thereupon, you will be removed from these chambers and may also face criminal charges pursuant to TCA 39-17-306. It's my sincere hope that everyone participating in these proceedings will conduct themselves in a polite manner with respect shown to all regardless of disagreements. We're going to start the citizens forum. First one is Lori Corbett. Step to the podium and state your name and address, please.
My name is Lori Corbett, and I live on Newport Place in the Hampton Roads subdivision, 1679 Newport Place. Okay. My concern that I'd like to bring before the board regards safety issues. I guess specifically if there's a handful in our neighborhood in Hampton Roads, specifically with regards to swimming pools. I would like some clarification on the regulations of which I printed off, specifically permits, zoning, and what the requirements are for fences around pools. I know we've got a couple of above-ground pools that the yards are not fenced, and I don't know, I'd like some clarification on that, whether or not these pools are receive the correct permits. I know they have to go through a permit. And I'd also like to know for when homeowners are installing pools, are they required to contact a committee, a group, to get these requirements that they have to follow? I have my suspicion that there's a few around that have not followed that. And it's a little bit of a concern because there are kids in our neighborhood that, could easily access these swimming pools and have an unfortunate, situation. The other issue is with respect to speeding through our neighborhood. Again, I said I lived on Newport Place, and I know on several occasions, and I've lived there nearly 20 years. I was one of the first homes in the neighborhood. When my daughter was very young, there were several occasions where we had people absolutely flying through our neighborhood to the point to where I tried putting the slow down, the little thing out in the road, and that was of no help. So I got to the point where I would actually walk out and stop people and say, look, you're going to have to slow down coming through here because you're going to run over someone. One of the main concerns is that right past my house there is a pretty dangerous curve. It's a blind curve. And we have asked, and the neighbors I know have called about anything that can be done to slow people down, because I have seen several people that are out walking for exercise that have almost been run over. Some good friends of mine actually had to jump into the ditch, and these people just kept going. So I don't want to see someone seriously injured or worse when, if there's anything that can be done to help with that. We've had speed limit signs put in. They brought the little trailer out that shows you how fast you're going, and people just fly past that and absolutely don't care. What I would like to see, we had asked about speed bumps, and we were told that was not possible because it would interfere with rescue and police, and I get that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Mary Jane Skinner. Mary Jane Skinner, jump in and speak your name and address.
My name is Mary Jane Skinner. I live at 792 Stones River Road. Been there a number of years. My concern is the flooding that we had this past weekend. I realized that Laverne had a lot of flooding going on. We've never had a flood like we did this weekend. My back is completely flooded. We were going to have Cub Scout camp this weekend. It's been canceled because there's no way that they can set tents back there and have any functions going on because the water is still running through. The levee that was supposed to hold the mulch coming through has got busted because the water was running through so high. I started across the road and I could not even make it halfway across the road. I had to turn around and go back and go across the bridge because I was going to my son's house. Now his driveway is in his front yard. The water this time came up between the tree line and my back porch. Even the 2000 flood wasn't like that. It came up to the tree line and that was it. But I was very worried about it this time. And the small creek that was running on the property that they have bulldozed all the trees, there was a little creek running through there. I had asked as a member of the Stormwater Board if I could go in there and clean that creek out so that the water would run freely. They said no because it was private property. Well, when they were bulldozing, they covered up that creek. So that water had nowhere to go except on my back property and on my son's back property. And we were lucky this time to have the creek itself back there because if it had not been, my whole house would have been flooded or my back part would have been completely flooded. But with the creek and the water coming from the back, it ran into the creek. So that stopped the water from coming through. And I was very, very concerned. And it's just, I'm just hoping that someday we can get some help out there. We're the only two houses there, so I guess it doesn't really matter. And we would just like to have something done to keep that water from coming on our property. And we're hoping that maybe the city can do something about it. I realize, as I said, that Laverne has been flooded all the way around. And I have been to places that was flooded this weekend. And it's sickening. It's very sickening because you can't plan to build a house out there anymore because what's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be, I think it's Robert St. John. Is that it? St. John?
Mr. Mayor and Alderman, I appreciate the opportunity to address an issue of concern, which is the appearance of our neighborhoods and the city property tax revenue. I know that you're aware of the points that I will make, but for clarity, I wanted to go with the topic and state these facts. Property values are affected mostly by supply and demand. When there are unsightly residential properties in a community, several things can happen. Listing prices on homes will not reach their potential. Potential buyers will search for homes in other neighborhoods or surrounding communities. And reappraisal of property values are lowered or will not reach their potential. As a result of this, the city tax revenue is less and the desirability of the community is affected. I submit to you that it is important for the correct city ordinance and codes be in place and enforced and to maintain a healthy community. Laverne has several communities or neighborhoods that rival many communities in Middle Tennessee. Our neighborhood, which is Hampton Roads Estates, phases 1 and 2, are approximately 50 homes, valued from $300,000 to $700,000. And I think that we all benefit from seeing appraised values increase. I don't mind paying more taxes as long as I see the value that's being provided by the city. I hope that as your elected officials, you view these neighborhoods as important long-term contributors to the city property tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Victor Tarraso.
My name is Victor Tarraso. I live at 152 Lake Point Road. I'm also in the Hampton Road areas as Lori and Robert. I too have the same concerns as the previous presenters. There's a bunch of them, but in time investments, rather than repeating ourselves over and over and over, we thought we would try to put some kind of order to what our concerns are. And two of the concerns that I personally have are inoperable, unlicensed vehicles parked in yards and unmowed grass. We have existing ordinances for both of these. We have a pretty good codes foundation. However, there's always room for improvement and at least one discrepancy that may cause some disagreements when it comes to enforcing the codes and ordinances, which is inoperable vehicles. It's pretty well defined in there what an inoperable vehicle is. It's got to be licensed and it's got to be able to run and be operable. One of the documents says that 72 hours is all it can stay there. There's another document that says it can be there 2 weeks. So that needs to be addressed. I brought copies of those in if you're interested. One proposal that we have is to change, or maybe just delete one sentence that would probably impact only about 1/10 of 1% of the Laverne's population, however, would benefit a much larger percentage of the residents. And that's Chapter 4, 13-402 on page 13-20, strike, or to any vehicle in operable condition specifically adopted for and designated for operation on drag strips or raceways, or any vehicle retained by the owner for antique collection purposes. The key here is license and operable condition. I understand that the race cars don't have to have, but how many residents in Laverne have a race car? There's what, approximately 38,000 residents in Laverne. I doubt if there's 38 residences that have race cars. But they leave these things parked all over the place, and they're kind of an eyesore. One residence in our neighborhood has 4 race cars that they keep parked around with all the trailers and everything else that's associated with it. I also had a couple instances last year where I reported some vehicles that definitely didn't have any license on them, and one recently here. And basically all that happened was codes came out, they talked to the people, told them to back it into the driveway so they couldn't see that they didn't have a license on them. The other one didn't run, and they told them, the codes, that it ran. So I asked codes, well, did you have them start it and move it? No, they can't do that. I don't understand that. Unmowed grass is another deal, and I know that's citywide, and it pretty well says in there that it can't be more than 12 inches tall. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone that got up citizens' comments. And we'll close the citizen forum. And seeing it's after 5:30, Bruce, I'm just going to go right on into the workshop. This is a workshop agenda, Board of Mayor and Aldermen. This is April 27th. 2017, and it's after 5:30, and this is for the workshop for the meeting for May 2nd, 2017 regular meeting. The prayer is for Vice Mayor Green, and Pledge of Allegiance with Alderman Jones. excuse me, everybody needs to look over the minutes for April 4th, 2017 public hearing, and April 4th, 2017 regular meeting. Tuesday, we're going to have 2 presentations. And we're down to consent agenda. Who's got the consent agenda?
Felicia's not here tonight, so we'll just take them one item at a time.
One at a time?
Various people.
Okay. Number 1 is bid water treatment plant roof replacement and repair.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Aldermen. On April 11th, 2017, we opened bids for the water treatment plant roof replacement and repairs project, where we received 1 bid. It was publicly opened and read aloud. This apparent low bidder was W&O Construction Company Incorporated of Livingston, Tennessee, with a bid amount of $306,000 for replacing the original office and plant building roof at the water treatment plant and for repairing the 2003 plant expansion roof. We recommend award of this project to the low bidder, W&O Construction Company, in the amount of $306,000. Do you all have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 2 is state contract purchase, a bus for Senior Citizen Center. Bruce, who?
I can talk about this one. The current bus or van that we have now for the senior center is in a bit of disrepair, and they really need a new van for when they take their senior trips to various places. AC went and talked to Ford of Murfreesboro, who does have the state contract for Ford vehicles, and they do have a high roof Ford Transit, which is a 15-passenger van, but with that high roof, it's almost like a bus. So the only issue is that they will have to order this, and there's no guarantee that we would get it before the end of June in order to pay for it out of this budget year. But the cost of this vehicle is $35,389.39. We had hoped to get it out of this budget year and not have to put it in next year's budget, but because there's no guarantee, it would still be best to leave those funds in the next year's proposed budget in case it does not come in before the end of June. But they do desperately need that vehicle for the senior center.
The transit van, is it single axle on the back or double? You don't know?
I don't know the answer to that. AC went and looked at it, and he thought it would fit their needs well.
I'm gonna put a question mark on that. I might want to pull that, put it on I might want to pull that on after I talk to AC, I might want to pull it on, have that pulled on a separate item, but any further questions? Anybody on this bus for the senior van?
Now, Bruce, this is significantly cheaper than what we budgeted for. Is that right?
Right. I believe in next year's budget, we had $50,000 allocated, and this is $35,389. So this is less than what we thought it might be.
Okay.
Any further questions on the bus? We're gonna move down to number 3. State purchasing, contract purchase vehicle for codes department.
This is another situation where we're trying to go ahead and purchase out of this year's current budget. The codes department did have a budget request for next year for a new vehicle. Ford of Murfreesboro has one of these vehicles in stock. This is a Ford Explorer, and it is $28,239.65. And there again, we'd like to go ahead and get it out of this year's budget and leave those funds where
But
they
it'd
can
be
be
basically
used
like
elsewhere
the
next
white one we got back.
It is. This is actually a different color because they don't have any white ones in stock, but it's essentially just like the one that's back there, yes, sir, that we got for City Hall.
It's a 2-wheel drive.
It's a front-wheel drive, yes.
Hearing nothing on it, we're down to number 4. State contract purchase vehicle for engineering department.
This is pretty much the same as the previous item, except this is for the engineering department. Here again, this is, it's not a white Explorer. This is actually an XLT model, and the price is $30,247.65 on the state contract pricing.
And that's a four-wheel drive V6?
No, this one's also a front-wheel drive, and the engine size on this one is also the 2.3-liter four-cylinder.
Okay. Any further questions? Number 5, purchase hazmat monitoring for the fire department.
That would be Ricky or Chris.
Chris?
We're requesting at the fire department to purchase 2 multi-ray hazmat monitors. I actually brought these in. This is the new style. This is the old style. These are very old. We can't. They're going out of date. In fact, we had a hazmat call 2 days ago, and it shut down on them. Well, this their lifeline, basically, in those type of calls. It's our request to go ahead and purchase 2 more similar to this one. This is actually on ladder 3. The other 2, another one similar to this one, is on 1 and 2. We'd like to go ahead and purchase 2 more of these hazmat monitors. To let you know that majority of that cost is in the hazmat line item. It'll be very, very close as far as staying within that line item.
Any questions for Chris on the hazmat monitors? Thank you, Chris. Moving on, number B, approve amendment for number 4 to agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the City of Laverne for the Hurricane Creek Greenway project.
This will be Kyle.
Mayor, this is just an amendment to our existing contract that we have on the Greenway with the state for the grant funding. This will extend the completion date from July 7th of 2017 to July 7th of 2018, just to make sure that we can get all reimbursements and everything in to the state in time to get the reimbursement money back, because, you know, it's not going to have any complete or effect on the completion of the project. It's basically more or less, once the project gets completed and we're submitting our paperwork into the state for reimbursements, it's extending that time frame from 2017 to 2018 to make sure we don't lose any funding and cost the city.
Any questions for Kyle on the Greenway? Moving on, number C, approve contract with Paradise Amusements Incorporated for the Old Timers Festival Carnival. I think AC might have mentioned at the last meeting about that was, he claims this is the best carnival that we ever had.
We've used these folks before, and this is just the contract to approve them coming for Old Timers in a few days prior.
Everybody needs to look at look over the contract. And got any questions? Call Bruce or AC. Any questions? Number D, approve proposal from Youth Incorporated to renovate the hockey ring and concession stand at Veterans Memorial Park. I think Youth Incorporated operated that for a number of years, hasn't it, Bruce?
Yes, sir. They've been operating the hockey program there for some time. They're looking to upgrade the surface on the concrete and which will increase the quality of the gameplay. And then they're also wanting to do an expansion of the concession stand, and they have funding to do both, but they need our permission in order to work on those projects here at our park.
Any questions on the hockey ring?
And Bruce, just looking at this is 100% paid for by them and their grant, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Number E, approve amendment number 2 to telecommunication service agreement between DDS and the City of Laverne Police Department.
We'll let Glenn get this one, yeah.
Yeah, this is just adding regular telephone lines to the police department for the dispatchers. We bring it up to 5 total. Currently, the way it is designed, there's about 4 different points of failure in there, and we had a meeting with AT&T representatives, TDS representatives, county emergency management office, our telephone vendor, us, to discuss all this, and everybody's consensus was that we needed to move the lines off of our internal server and have them come directly into the 911 racks to eliminate all those other different points of failure, making it through our network and everything like that. So that was everybody's consensus, and this is, since it's an existing contract with TDS, it's an amendment that you guys have to approve. It adds about $90 a month to our telephone bill, and we have that in the budget. So just for your all's information and proof.
Just one question, are you comfortable with the security level on those lines?
Yes, they're regular POTS lines. They're for citizens who call in for 911, well, not 911, that's a different way. It's the regular administration lines, the 7744 number.
Okay.
911 comes in through a different way from the county itself. So it expands, it doesn't really expand our capacity, but it brings more independent paths in where all those lines could fail if our server failed. This way, they're individual lines coming into that cabinet, and they're managed by the consoles in there and AT&T, their configuration.
Any further questions on the TDS phone lines? Moving on to new business, this is first reading ordinance 2017-06. This is an ordinance of the City of Laverne, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. I know Phyllis has worked real hard on the budget, and I'd like to congratulate all the department heads. I think they went above and beyond, worked real hard to fit the budget into the money that we had to work with. Anybody else have any questions about the budget?
I've got a few on the budget. I know when we had the budget workshops, I know, Mayor, you had said if we can figure out the funding, you're all in favor for adding additional firemen. I know it's one of the things we talked about. And just looking at it, a little bit of what we've already reviewed here with the consent agenda and changing a few things around, looking at needs and wants. So right now we have $100,000 in for engineering on a splash pad, which I would label as a want for the city. If we're looking at that, I believe the leftover amount, Phyllis, was around $55,000. And then we're looking at roughly $60,000 from these 2 vehicle purchases, if not even the third one, which may or may not go through. So between that alone, you would have the $175,000 for the 6 additional firemen to start in January to get us up to the national levels as far as for compliance. At the same time, I know we've talked with the non-for-profits, and I haven't heard the final discussion as far as which ones we are and aren't funding, but one I would recommend, that one change that we would recommend in there is the Laverne Rescue Squad. Is in there, they did state they've not been on any calls. We could use that money for like our senior center. I think it was $37,000 if they, as far as for a full-time employee whenever you're converting one from part-time to full-time, and less than that if they start in January.
My question is, how do you propose to pay for them next year when it's a full year? what sacrifices are we going to have to make in the following year budget to accommodate for the payroll expense increase?
Well, you're looking at what, 175 or 300 at that point, and again, just like we said last time, we know that we're going to have additional businesses. We have homes that are up building right now. We see that on a regular basis.
So I took the liberty of predicting some things. So I took the businesses that we have coming into Laverne that we already know about, that have contracts that are in progress of construction in some phase, and I got their financial reports because most of them are publicly traded, and Bruce and I kind of looked at them together to determine what the average is for the sales revenues for each one of those stores, just on average, to try to get a basis of comparison. And then also using $250,000 as the increased value of the property compared to the existing $45,000 that the property was undeveloped. I figured out that tax income from the property tax that goes to Laverne, and simply the numbers don't add up to where it would sustain that.
And you're looking at the business property tax and sales tax, not the overall property tax.
I looked at the sales tax increase on the businesses and the property tax increase on the residential, and the combined value of those does not even come close to paying one salary.
And you're including the
For the-
growth with the Ridge,
Yes.
Pinnacle Point,
Yes.
the new growth in Lake Forest,
Mhm.
the new townhomes that's being built,
Yes.
both by KFC and by the post office. You're including all of that, plus the potential for the new 750 that's being discussed on Walton Road.
If you want to see the figures, I think Bruce could probably forward those over to you so that you could review them for yourself and consider it.
I'd definitely like to get that information.
Okay.
But ultimately, we're looking at needs and wants. Is a splash pad, the engineering on it, is that a need or a want for the city? Is,
The splash pad would be a one-time expense, though, and that's my concern about the,
Wouldn't be a one-time expense, because you have, as far as water, chemicals, staffing, that's a residual cost. If you look at even a small city like Manchester, look at their budget for it's huge.
so the engineering work that we propose to do would allow us to get federal grants and at least qualified to investigate those, and so that was kind of the thinking behind that.
But again, we're looking at needs and wants. And is a splash pad a need or splash pad a want? Is fire personnel to put out our fires for our city a need or a want? When your house is on fire, you want them there. You need them there.
I'll just say that I want to be able to pay for them next year also.
Any further questions on the budget? This is choose to be first reading. We'll have first and second reading on the budget. Hearing that, we run over number 6. This is first reading. Ordinance 2017-07. An ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2016-2017 general fund budget. This is basically house cleaning. We basically do it every year. This consists of police maintenance equipment, economic development travel, fleet department for new lift and some equipment, and then also the bond expense refinance and refunding. Have I got it correct, Phyllis? Any questions on the amendment to the fiscal year 2016-17 general fund budget? Number 7, first reading ordinance 2017-08, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2016-2017 street capital project fund budget. This is the money that we had to use extra for the near Strivman extension and what we had to settle on the Walton Road right-of-way purchase. Am I right, Phyllis?
That's correct. The near Shryman was just The project is anticipated to be completed in 15-16, but there was a little bit of a run over to 16-17, so this picks up that part of it.
Any questions on the street capital project fund budget? Number 8, first reading ordinance 2017-09, an ordinance to amend the City of Laverne zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for tax map 29, parcel 2.08, consisting of 1.4 acres, excuse me, located at 113 Charter Place, from a C2 highway service commercial zoning district to a I2 heavy industrial zoning district. This received an unfavorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on April 25th, 2017. This is the property over there that's fenced in right beside the Dollar General store on the other side of the interstate. This is a little fenced in lot that I think some people wants to change the zoning for, I think, an industrial use. And this is in the, Bruce, ain't this in the thoroughfare portion?
I'm not sure what you mean. It's between.
It's an overlay district.
Overlay,
It's in the
overlay.
overlay, yes, sir.
That's in the overlay commercial. Okay. Any questions or comments on the rezoning?
Just from an economic development standpoint, I think I just want to point out that keeping the overlay as pristine as we can will only help the city draw more businesses to this community.
And by looking at the map on there, that is a prime, that would be a prime section for retail. By looking at next to the interstate, and that would be a good piece of property for most anything commercial. So, and that might have been the reason that the Planning Commission decided to give it an unfavorable, but y'all can decide Tuesday, and we'll put it to the first vote. And then if it passes first reading, there will be, the following month, there will be a public hearing on it. So, any questions on the rezoning? Number 9, first reading ordinance 2017-10, an ordinance to amend the City of Laverne zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for the tax map 15, parcel 2.13, consisting of 2.84 acres located directly behind 5095 Murfreesboro Road. This is from a C4 shopping center commercial zoning district to a C2 highway service commercial zoning district. This received also an unfavorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on April 25th, 2017. And this property, excuse me, this is between City Hall and the car wash. Over there next to Madison Square, where the car wash and Burger King, that little wooded area between it and the City Hall. And this is also would be a prime piece of property for retail, and that might as well be the reason that the Planning Commission gave it unfavorable. But this also will be first reading Tuesday, and if it does pass first reading, it will be a public hearing the next month. Any questions on this rezoning? Moving down to number 10, a resolution 2017-10. This is a resolution to write off uncollectible property tax accounts. This is something we do periodically, and this is the list, Bruce, that we get from the county, and the county says it's went over 10 years or something, and
Yes, sir.
it's not collectible, and it needs to be written off the books.
They're turned over to Chancery Court, and court was unable to collect those amounts, so they were dismissed by the county, which makes them uncollectible by the city. So we have to take them off our books, and this is how that is accomplished.
Any questions on that? Something I think we done. I don't know if we do it every year, but
Pretty much, yeah.
pretty much. Number 11, a resolution 2014-11. Resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare a property owned by the city to be surplus to the city's needs and direct its disposal of the same. Excuse me. This is some public work items, and some vehicles, tools, and equipment. Maybe a lift and an old tractor and maybe a bush hog. Some miscellaneous items that no longer that we use. Some of these items that we done bought replacements for, like the lift. I think last month we replaced the lift. And we'll be on government bid on it, Bruce. Any questions on the miscellaneous items disposal? Number 12, a resolution 2017-12, a resolution to accept the Center Point Lot 13 and re-subdivide of Lot 14 Industrial Park subdivision. Now, this received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission back on March 28, 2017. Cal, can you, I don't have anything on this, and can you speak on this? Or?
Chris and you or Jay have anything on it?
We have for subdivision acceptance, so that's the reason that the Planning Commission recommended approval.
Okay. Any questions on number 12? And we're down to discussion item 13, discuss lighting at Hurricane Creek Boat Ramp. Bruce, I know we talked about it some. You want to elaborate on it a little bit?
Yes, sir. You had asked me to look into the possibility of getting some lighting out at the boat ramp. I contacted the Corps of Engineers, and they basically said that if there's two ways to do it, we could ask them to do it, and of course with them it's dependent on federal budgeting, and we know how the federal government can be sometimes with their budget, but it would be possibly quite some time before it would get allocated and get put into place. The other option was for the city to put it in ourselves. And basically we just have to get a letter from the Corps giving us permission to do so, which he didn't seem to think that would be very difficult to do. I asked Garland to get a quote from NES, because that's in their area for service, and they came back with a proposal that's in your packets. We're basically looking at 8 different poles, and then you would have 7 lights that would be on those. Of course, there's some poles in between. The total monthly cost to do this would be $141.99 per month. There is a 36-month contract that would have to be signed. That price more than likely would never go down because it just becomes a month-to-month at that point. So it just boils down to, does the board want to enter into this agreement and put some lighting out there, or leave it as it remains now, which, it gets pretty dark out there at night.
Any questions on the supposed lighting of the Hurricane Creek Boat Ramp?
I've got a question. Was there a possibility of the city putting it in and ask for reimbursement after the federal government goes through their budget?
I don't know that was not a question that I asked. I could try to find out.
Okay. If we could throw that third option in
right
there, that would be good. And also, a fourth option would be if the city were to put it in and then we were to look at solar lighting.
At what?
Solar lighting.
Solar lighting.
After the 36 months, solar lighting are not going to be that far at that point, but after the mandatory 36 months and we go to month, then we could look at solar lighting, which is a little bit more expensive. Garland
talked to them about just using LED lights, switching over to that instead of these sodium lights or whatever they're called. And that's not really a possibility. They don't do the LEDs, so I don't know that they do any kind of solar either. But the 36 months is just to guarantee that they get paid back for the installation and the cost of the poles and stuff like that, there's still going to be that monthly fee after that. So I don't know if it would even be possible to go to solar. Garland's shaking his head no.
Okay, if we could just check on that third option and
Okay.
see, because there have been instances where, after a period of time, the federal government will take into consideration and then reimburse, and so they can put it on their books as authorization.
Okay, I will find that out. This will probably not be on the agenda for Tuesday.
Okay.
We'll find that out, and then I will also inquire with the Corps of Engineers about getting that letter for permission.
Okay.
Chief Clark, you do a lot of fishing. Do you ever put in that Hurricane boat ramp?
Actually, I was listening to this conversation. It is dark there. I go visit that boat ramp quite often and put my boat in. It's something to consider that those users of those boats, if those lights aren't turned right, that it will blind the boaters as they come in. However, protection for that area, I don't know what the call volume is to that particular boat ramp as far as vandalism, burglary.
After dark, like most other boat ramps in the world, it attracts a long crowd, and it's very dark.
So,
We make a lot of arrests, both of our boat ramps.
and I do recall back whenever I was had a special operations team, we did end up going out there to dive for a particular weapon. So it's a dumping spot. We want our citizens safe, but we also have to keep in mind that the boaters, as they come in, that it blinds you. Recently, Fate Sanders has put up a light in the parking lot, and as we enter the no wake zone, you can't see the buoys because the light is so bright. So there's a safety issue that's coming in off the water as well.
We've just been talking about them so that it would be where most of it would shine back towards the parking lot. But the lady said that when we got ready to do it, that we could meet out there and decide which way we wanted it.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Would that be city property once the 36 months? So it's still being in that stuff?
Yes, it's just a rental fee essentially.
It's just a rental fee.
It may not even be something that we can control at all.
Correct. Other than the initial design, which we would work with them on.
And Bruce, also, if you don't mind, could you also check the cost for possibly security cameras? And I know that they've got the new type for motion detectors that could pick up a vehicle when it drives through, and then the lights will actually activate at that time. Because we check for that type of updates on the lights itself.
I'll see what I can find out.
Does that boat ramp close at 10 o'clock? It's 24 hours. Okay.
Now, it's 24 hours for docking, right?
It's 24 hours for the legitimate parking.
Okay.
After 11 p.m., you must be using this.
Yeah, okay. 'Cause
Or just hanging out?
I know, I remember it says that after dark, then you can't just drive down there unless you've got a boat that you're gonna actually dock.
Any further questions about the boat ramp lights? Number 14, discussion, fire department medical response. Chris, that's gotta be you.
All I can say is wow. 3 years ago, I arrived here in the city of Laverne. Our response and our medical response has gained speed. They've done a very good job. And what Ricky and I dwell in is that not only is our patient care superb, but we're also patient advocates as far as what's the best for the condition. And speaking with the paramedics and the EMTs that come in off of Rutherford County EMS. This is kind of dear to my heart because I've been a paramedic for 20-something years. And we believe that we would like to, your blessings to enhance our medical treatment. And well, what does that mean? Primarily what this means is that our personnel will be able to practice to their license. So every 2 years, they have to renew their license. They have to have continuing education, just like any licensed professional out here. Our EMTs at this point have practiced at what we call emergency medical responder level, giving basic first aid. We put in an oral airway if the patient's not breathing, and then use the bag valve mask. Well, let's talk about an airway. We would use a more advanced airway to secure and be able to breathe for them. And when we talk about secure, what we do is we secure that the stomach from receiving air, and it goes straight into the lungs. We talk about providing epinephrine to anaphylactic reactions such as bee sting or a child that's allergic to peanut butter. We talk about nebulizers or albuterol for our patients that are COPD or has asthma. We talk about starting IVs as far as and giving medications such as D50 for our diabetics. These are critical incidents that we go to on a daily basis. However, we provide basic medical treatment prior to the arrival of EMS. Just recently, 2 days ago, I received a call from our EMS supervisor and wanted to brag on our guys of how well they treat the paramedics on the trucks, and also how well they treat their patients. We have been in contact with Rutherford County EMS over the last year talking about this enhancement. And what does this mean for the city? What this means is that there's a lot of times where we wouldn't provide that advanced medical care because the ambulance is coming in right behind us. However, on busy days where the ambulances are coming from what we call Smyrna West near 1 Mile Lane, or coming from Indian Springs by the police department in Smyrna, you're talking about a longer response time for EMS, and we'll have a critical patient on the scene. This will allow our personnel to do more, to treat our patients better, and hopefully have a better outcome and after hospital care. So this is big. Well, let's talk about cost. We have an agreement with Rutherford County EMS that any of the equipment or the medicine that we use, then we can get some of that reimbursement back. So we don't feel like that there's going to be an increase in our medical equipment budget per se. I will tell you that we spent a little bit here recently just to get the training up. So all these guys and girls that are on the fire department, we spent many a days in here checking off in different skills and things like that. So they're prepared. I will tell you that if I didn't feel like at July 1st is the date, the start date, and we don't feel like that we're ready, or we got all the equipment in, or we haven't got all the personnel in place at that point, then we will delay it a little bit until we have all of those personnel items and all those things in place. Not only is Laverne providing this type of enhancement, but so is Rutherford County Fire Department, Murfreesboro City Fire Department. We've got a great working relationship with all three of them, and we hope to move this forward. Questions?
My question is, you said that you were doing the checkoffs.
Yes, sir.
Was that you, yourself, and?
Along with a few paramedics from Murfreesboro, a few
Okay.
paramedics from Rutherford County EMS.
That was a key. That's why I wanted to know. I mean, I'm all for that, but
Yes,
the
sir.
thing that, as we talked briefly at one point, what can we do to enhance, since we're going to be doing the enhancement, how further of an enhancement would it be to make them certified instructors?
That's something that we're looking at.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I think that the next step is to bring a school here inside Laverne and teach them while they're on duty. That's something that we're looking at. In fact, I had a phone call from Motlow a week ago. There is individuals here that could very well be instructors here in the city of
We
Laverne.
talked about that, and that's
Yes,
one
sir.
of the, that's
Yes,
another
sir.
revenue that
And
could
we
go to the
believe
fire
it.
department.
Absolutely. And what we look at, and I have one here that we talk about advanced extrication. We want to send one to Arkansas to be a trainer. He comes back, he starts instructing those kind of things, and we do that in-house and we keep it in-house.
Yeah.
I bring those guys in there so that they see that they don't understand medicine just because Chris Clark says so. I want them to experience from different instructors, different faces, and at the same time, they gain relationships with the other responders within the county that may be coming to help them during a disaster. So there's several things that are going on there.
Okay, I mean, and as we talk about these things with the budget going on, we know that it's a financial
Sure.
thing. And one of the things that we've got, I know that we've got a lot of, working with the firemen in the Citizens Fire Academy, I know that we've got a lot of people over there that can train. And we can bring people in from other counties that will leave the money here in Laverne if we train them as opposed to us sending them out. So that was one of the things that, that we were discussing, and I'd like to see that happen.
And for me, I just recently came back from Chattanooga. I spoke at a conference on active shooters. We are expanding and helping others, but at the same time, the others are coming to help us. Yeah. And I think that's a really great thing as far as we talk about relationships with other responders, other agencies, and things like that. And you are right. If we do the train the trainers, we can keep it in-house and then also bring in other departments instead of us going out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not looking for it just to keep it in-house. I'm looking to bring others in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
get
sir.
the money there for training them. Because
Absolutely.
we have to pay to send out. So if we've got the people that are here and they're motivated to do it, I think we need to bring them into us.
Yes, sir.
And have them stay here and train them.
I agree. And,
So
and
if
some of
we-
the things is we're looking at is fire instructors. And I've always told them, you know, I want them to be the fire instructors that they come in and they're teaching other people.
Right.
There's some other benefits to that is hotel, there's food, there's all kinds of other things. So our visions is not only to take care of our citizens, but also be the leaders of this response.
Yeah.
Any further questions for Chris?
Would this affect as far as our liability coverage at all?
No, sir, I don't believe so. It's under contract with TML. This is some of the things that we have an agreement with Rutherford County EMS as well. I don't believe that will increase our liability. And that's something that I can check on, but I don't believe so.
We checked on that several years back, because we were, at one point, we were doing the same thing in years past. And at that point in time, it was not gonna make any difference at all in the insurance. Just do the fact of what we were doing before. Because your liability lies in a certain range once you touch patient to begin with, so.
Yeah.
Things that they do, doesn't really increase it, it may actually even help,
Right.
so.
Well, y'all come with a high, anyway, you know,
Anyway,
anytime
it's
y'all
high.
pull out on the scene, I mean, y'all in a high.
Well, we're always open to that liability regardless of what we're doing, whether it's EMS functions or extrication. I mean, we're always.
Y'all drag somebody out of a burning house,
Well,
y'all
that's the
still.
police department, we're definitely prime targets for liability, but
You know, we try to keep that pretty close. I mean, we look at that, and that's something that we drill these guys and shows the police department, everything else was reduce liability. And one of those things is be nice. And that has a lot to do with it.
I know when I went through the fire and the police academy, you know, I had no idea what, and still don't know all that the fire and police goes through, and I think each and every one of y'all do a great job
Well, thank
under difficult circumstances, and I appreciate both the fire and the police department.
Thank you, sir.
And one of the things we have to take into consideration, I'm not trying to, in no way, act as the, as an attorney in that area, because we have
Yes, sir.
someone here that can take that. But as long as we've got policies in place and the policies are followed, you're doing what you can do. I mean,
Yes, sir.
the only other person that I can think of that is guaranteed 100% survival rate, you know, we go to church to worship him on Sunday. So
Yes, sir.
that's the only one that I know. And his liability rate is down.
I will be honest with you, in these situations, you know, there are situations where you end up in a lawsuit on a medical call such as that. Rarely are they collectible. There's 4 or 5 things that they've got to prove as for neglect. One of the biggest things is we just don't go. Number 2 is could you? It's not if you could do more. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we look at there, and the challenge is it's hard to sue a nice person. Let's be honest with you. You know, if you're sitting there patting their hand and you're as nice as you can and you have their best interest for their medical care and they're doing the right things, it's hard for a lawsuit. And these guys are very good at that.
I think the biggest part that helps us more than anything is our ongoing partnership with Rutherford County Administration.
Yeah.
We don't try to veer off. We have never went around anything with Rutherford County EMS. We've butted heads a few times, like anyone will, when the program is growing, but we've done everything. Our policies, our procedures, our protocols are developed between our department and their director at Rutherford EMS, so everything meshes together. Our equipment meshes with their equipment. So we've tried to limit this as much as we can. But our partnership with Rutherford County EMS is great. We can put a firefighter in the back of an ambulance, and they can pretty much operate hand in hand with the medics from Rutherford County without a glitch. So, and that can't be said for everywhere you go across the state. But I can say that we're very blessed here in Laverne. I think our police department, fire department is a prime example of that as well. There are lots of police and fire departments across the nation. There's some right here in Rutherford County. Police and fire do not get along at all. And that obviously is not the case here. So our relationships with everybody here in emergency services, from the police department, fire department, to everybody here, our relationships with other agencies all over the state have always been very good. And it shows. Chris is a medic. For 30 years, I was a medic on the SWAT team for the police department. Chris came in as a paramedic. Now he's doing that. You know, we cross-trained the gentleman in the police department in hazmat. We hand-in-hand trained with Rutherford County SOAR and trained with Rutherford County EMS personnel. So that kind of relationship also helps you when it comes in. As Chris said, we help them, and in turn, they turn around and they help us. So we do a lot of swapping of equipment. We're looking at maybe doing an EMT class here in our own city next year. That's not done very often, but we're looking at maybe working with Murfreesboro Fire. They just purchased some training equipment to do that. So we're looking at borrowing that equipment from them in order to do the training here. So just our relationships alone has saved went a long way. I think the program moving forward this next step, without doubt, is beneficial to our citizens and the people that are working here in the city every day. We saved a lot of lives, the guys, girls. There are a lot of lives that have been saved in the past 3 years here in the city by our medics. And this is only going to push that even further.
Appreciate it. You might well stand up. I think the next one, number 15, you'll do discussion, fire department, medical standby by non-city events.
Recently, over the years, we've been tasked to provide medical standby for non-city functions, which we have tried to provide that medical coverage with on-staff, our on-duty personnel. And we are growing in call volume, and we're finding it very, very difficult to staff that medical coverage primarily at the ballpark. From morning to the very night, and then you're pulling a truck out of service for them to stand by. So with that being said, it's my request or our request that we if it's a non-city function and they need medical coverage and they're requiring medical coverage, that it would be the cost of overtime for our personnel, cost meaning overtime and the benefit that goes along with that overtime, to charge for that reimbursement back to the city. How does that help us? Well, at that point, we would only use overtime personnel. So the guys that are on duty would come in to work and they would receive overtime. Now, here's the thing. We will not see that money at the fire department, but the city itself will. It's kind of like a one-way street. There's only one way going, and it's going out. So, you know, we have to be frugal with our budget. This is occurring as MTSU, your TSSAA ball games, all these other agencies are charging it for non-city events. So this is nothing new. So we have to find a way to keep our personnel that are on duty at their stations or on calls.
Okay. Any questions on that deal?
I think that's a great idea. I think it's a good idea.
We've been behind the 8 ball on that for a while. I mean, God only knows how much revenue.
It's difficult, and we try to manage it. It's finding it difficult for the captains, the shift commanders to schedule them, get them in there. They're staying there all day long. We catch calls, we have to come back. We run out of trucks and they have to pull them from the ballpark. I'm not sure if the ballpark continues to roll or not. I don't know if they shut down. But it's become very difficult to get them in their schedule. We were looking at any way that we could, with the personnel that we have on hand, and how to utilize them to the best of our ability.
Good deal. Appreciate it, Chris.
Thank
You've done a good job.
I'm done now.
All right.
Mayor,
Well,
just as a side note, in order to make that change, it would require an ordinance to amend our municipal code. So we will start working on that amendment. I don't know if we'll have it ready for Tuesday, but we'll start working on that. Now, the previous one for the medical response, I don't believe requires any kind of council action, just more of an update than anything. So we will start working on an ordinance for those charges.
We're down to Mayor and Alderman comments. We'll start with Alderman Jones.
I've spoken enough tonight, man. Thank you.
Alderman Brown.
No, thank you.
Alderman Cole. Vice Mayor Green.
No, sir.
I want to thank the employees, department heads, the workers that come out this past weekend when we had the storm. I was out most of the day Saturday, and I've seen a lot of y'all out. Seen a lot of employees that need waist deep in water. And I appreciate the hard work, determination, and great help they put in. We had problems basically all over the city of Laverne. Some areas was hit harder than others, and some areas that flooded that didn't flood in 2010. I talked to some areas that was flooded that didn't even flood back in 79. So the way that the scattered showers was, I don't know the rain fall, but some areas got more than others. But the employees was out working. They was wet. I've seen one officer out, and he was soaked. And I'm sure he was soaked all day with all the vest and equipment. He never gave up, and I appreciate all the hard work of all the employees. And I also want to tell everybody about the new online phone payment system for utility bills. And you can come May 4th, you can pay by telephone or a computer, pay your water bill. That's something we hadn't had, I don't think, in Laverne. It's something new. I think it's going to be helpful to Laverne. And the new Bojangles, I talked to them today, stopped in there. It looks like that place is ready to go, and they're shooting for May 16th. That's their goal, to cut the ribbon May 16th. It looks great down there, it looks brand new, everything looks clean. When I stopped in today, it looked like they could open today, but they're shooting for May the 16th for the grand opening for the Bojangles. And again, I want to thank Phyllis and the department heads for the budget. Everybody worked hard. We started out this year behind the 8 ball when we was issued $500,000 on the bond issue. So we started out a $500,000 in the hole. And I think, all in all, I think we done great. If we didn't have that face a $500,000 bond, I think we could have done more. But I think everybody done. Phyllis, I think you worked the hardest, but every department head has come in there and done a great job, and I appreciate it. And that's all I have, and I call this work.
I'm sorry, can you remind them about Channel 4?
Okay, it's 7 o'clock at Laverne Middle School. Channel 4 has got that storm ready. I'm sure it's a crowd already over there, but everybody's welcome to go to Laverne Middle School. That's down off Stones River Road. Show up, they're gonna have a lot of activities. Channel 4's there. Everybody welcome to go there, and it starts in about 20 minutes. But I'm sure it's already a crowd there. I call this workshop done.